This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Woo! What up, though? And this is going to be longer than what lasted with Wingstop. But this is Knockouts and Three Counts. It's a Thursday edition. There was a lot of shit we didn't get to talk about because Jackson Stone, the Suplex Shogun, had some shit to say. So if you didn't get to hear what he had to say, go check that shit out on the damn YouTubes and where you find podcasts. Other than that, it's another episode of Knockouts and Three Counts, and we're going to bring you some podcast gold. What's going on, gentlemen?
What is happening?
Nothing much. Glad to be, as the usual, coming to the end of the week on a Thursday. Glad to be wrapping up the week. And we got another one of our lovely little chat episodes. No guests joining us this one. So got a ton of news and ton of facts coming right at you guys.
Yeah, we've got a lot coming to you, man. Like I said, if you guys are following us at on our social medias, what you see in the bottom right corner there at KO3C Pod, you would know that, yeah, there is no guest tonight, but this Tuesday we've got quite the guest, as we're going to be joined by four-time Stanley Cup winner, Detroit Red Wings legend Darren McCarty will be joining us this Tuesday. On Knockouts and Three Counts, we'll talk about everything from his weed and CBD line to him being into wrestling and indie wrestling. We'll talk about his band Grinder. We'll talk about him stepping into the wrestling ring and why he loves all these indie shows around Detroit so much. There's a lot to talk about with Darren McCarty. But speaking of Darren McCarty, I mean, when I say Darren McCarty, I mean, what's the first thing y'all motherfuckers think about?
Stanley Cup, baby. Red Wings. Let's go.
The enforcer, man. That's the enforcer right there. Nobody fucks with McCarty.
I mean, that guy sure did like to throw hands. I mean, I would like to see him beat up Patrick Waugh one more time. But
yes, I'm with it. Hey,
I'm just saying.
Share that out, dude. I've got people on Twitter, in my inbox, Facebook, everything saying like just shooting memories of him just out and about and how much of a cool dude he is. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. That's gonna be good.
Well,
I've heard so many stories. Not to interrupt you. I've heard so many stories, like secondhand, third hand, from being around him and people hanging out with him and shit. So yeah, I'm very excited to get the chance to kind of, even though it's virtually, get my chance to shake his hand through a computer.
Right.
Well, you were 5 feet away from him at GCW.
I didn't, and how the fuck did I miss him?
I was like, he was literally directly to your right.
I guess I was wrapped up in all that action GCW was providing that night, because that was a pretty entertaining show.
Yeah, man, and we've heard that they are on their way back to Detroit at Harpo's, man. So like I said,
legendary Harpo's. I'm excited as shit for that one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man, that's going to be a good show. I mean, before we were going live on the air, it looks like J-Bone might be making his first road trip here soon.
Perhaps.
I mean, hey, dude. So, Chicago, we're coming, motherfucker. Yeah, we're coming, and maybe we'll run into our friend El Rito de las Chicas, Sam Adonis, down there at Warrior Wrestling. He's got himself quite a fucking battle, as he's going to be going one-on-one with Brody King. Other past guests of the show, Trey Miguel is on there. You got Buddy Murphy on there. I mean, literally from top to bottom, this card is going to be stacked. That's also where we got to interview Brian Cage and Filthy Tom Lawler. So who knows what I might come back with if we go to Chicago. And hey, the show's on a Sunday, so I don't even have to like miss work or anything. I could go there after work on Saturday and then head down there on Sunday. But J-Bone, so you said that we need to get you a bodyguard. So I know you said you wanted the Suplex Shogun. I got a whole nother idea, because I got into watching that Chucky series they put out.
Yeah.
Just give me Chucky, except then you got to worry about if he just kills everybody that like pisses you off or does you dirty.
I'm not trying to be affiliated with murder.
Are you trying to say you want a small person that has a ton of scars and dyes their hair red as your bodyguard, Kyle? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's a doll, sir, first of all. Second of all, you know what? If it's anything like the TV show, if any of you guys that are watching it, have you checked out the new Chucky show? What do you think about it? Yeah. I'm just saying, Chucky is pretty fucking ruthless in that show. So I'm just saying,
though,
like,
I think I'm taking the Shogun over Chucky though. That's maybe we could put them together and fight to the death type of thing. That'd be one hell of a suplex if you ask me.
I mean, yeah, you're not kidding. I mean, what do you call it? Child's play suplex. Dude, I don't know, but I mean, there's a lot to talk about, man. Also, J-Bone, you're going to be out there Saturday. We've got BCWA Frontline as they return to the Copeland Center in Wyandotte. It's going to be a banger. You got Eric Ely versus Kenny Steele. It's going to be a banger. So if you're in the Downriver area or in the Michigan area, you got to check them out. I still got to make it happen so that we can get superstar Bill Martell on here so I can actually tell the story on the air of us two fighting on the same card when I was fucking 13. But yeah, you didn't know that, did you? I found that out at the end of Christmas before pandemic hit. Yeah, we figured out that we both fought on the same card out in the middle of Detroit in a parking lot next to the gay strip club.
Wow, that's awesome.
You boys really put on a show for them guys that night.
Yeah, shit, especially getting hit in the liver. That was fun.
Ooh.
Did you guys have to rake up the singles when you were done? That's what I want to know.
No, they were cheap fuckers. What up, though, Alex? I appreciate you, my guy. This is a perfect episode for you to be in here. As it says in the description, we've got a lot of shit to talk about.
That we do.
All right. So first and foremost, since we didn't really get to talk about Full Gear and Dynamite was yesterday, I feel like we need to start with AEW because there's a whole ass pay-per-view, a world title change. We now know who his next challenger is going to be. I mean, literally, dude, there's a lot to talk about just with what went down on AEW Dynamite alone. But before we get into that, I want to know what you think as well, Alex. So I pose this question to both of you guys, but I'd like to hear what you think. So as many people know, wrestling, especially in the 90s, was really kind of judged on the Nielsen ratings and things like that as far as to like how many people were watching. But as we all know, in 2021, I, for one, can say 9 times out of 10, I don't get to watch these shows live. So I'm usually always watching them on DVR. So first of all, Alex, since you're watching, how do you watch the weekly shows, bro? Are you watching live? Are you watching taped? How are you watching it? Because my question is, do you think in 2021 that we should still be judging wrestling on how well it's doing based upon TV ratings when you have a company like AEW that literally everywhere they go, they're sold out? They're sold out or they're packed up or whatever. I think because here's the thing. I bring this up because when I heard somebody talking about it, they were like, when you're watching on TV, ultimately, what are you worried about? Have you ever watched a fight or a wrestling show and ever thought, I wonder what the rating is on this shit? I bet you probably didn't. But when you watch a show like the one we were at it All Out and you see a crowd that's just fucking losing its mind, I feel like that is going to be what's going to make me as a fan want to come to a show live. So I want to know what you guys think. Alex says he watches the shows live. You are a soldier, sir, especially if you do so for Monday Night Raw. But like I said, J-Bone, Corey, the floor is open. Do you think in 2021 they need to start judging wrestling ratings a little bit different because everybody's not watching it live? Because I feel like a lot of that is getting a shit rep when I feel like nobody really even thinks about the ratings like that anymore.
I mean, all right. So to kind of lead the dance on this one, I guess, for the wrestling end of it, I actually see a lot of numbers that are positive in both AEW and WWE still. I don't know if how they're necessarily counting.
Not Raw. I figured you didn't watch Raw live.
I don't know how they're counting their numbers anymore, if the Nielsen rating or whatever they're using to incorporate numbers anymore is kind of evolved over time to incorporate some of the streaming numbers and such to kind of even out the playing field. But honestly, I feel like if anything, the streaming numbers makes it a lot easier to count individual views. So if you're trying
right,
to
that's
actually
why
have
I'm
like
saying I feel like the Nielsen ratings at this point are almost like, I don't want to say obsolete, but
yeah. I mean,
J-Bone, they're shouting you out in the comments, homie.
What up, Nate?
I would
What
have
up,
to
bro?
do more research into what is all incorporated in the modern era of Nielsen ratings, because I know it probably has evolved somewhat over time. That
It
being
has
said,
to, with the way everything's being streamed. Like even like J-Bone, this is a perfect example of what Corey was just talking about. You know, earlier today we were talking about MLW and the War Chamber match that they had, which, hey, if any of you guys are watching, did you guys get to see that War Chamber match by MLW? Alex Hammerstone is a fucking savage. I'm just going to say that. Alex Hammerstone is a fucking savage, but Alex Hammerstone better have his shit together, because Alex Hammerstone's getting ready to go one-on-one with our homie, the 7 Mile Destroyer, Isaiah Broner, on December 4th. So come get you some, Hammerstone. But J-Bone, what do you think about that? Do you think we really should be paying attention to the ratings like that anymore, or should it be based upon, you know, because like Corey said, I mean, with streaming services, especially with YouTube, like that match I watched on YouTube. So then how can you say that they're not being watched if we're, you know what I mean?
Right. Man, as a fan,
Corey
I don't
smokes
really
that passion fruit.
Smoke all
as a fan, I don't really look into the ratings much, but for being on TV, if wrestling's going to be on TV, the ratings war is always going to be there. As long as there's a host network, it's always going to be a thing. You know, there's no way around that. But with streaming services, like Corey was saying, I feel like it's way easier to see exactly where they are as far as what's being watched, what's not being watched, what, you know what I mean, in that sense. But as far as TV ratings, man, I don't think that it won't go away. As long as wrestling's on TV, somebody's going to be wanting to rake in some cash by getting the ratings on there. So I think we're stuck with that. I don't personally care for it.
The only issue that I see, and to kind of relay it more to my world, I guess you can say, with MMA, is like a lot of people aren't going to necessarily make the jump to buy a Showtime subscription if they don't already have one to watch Bellator, even though they may be interested in watching Bellator and they were wanting to watch the event. They're not willing to spend the money to buy a whole subscription into something that they're going to use maybe once a month. So that's my only thing with the whole, like, everything going into subscriptions. And it was one thing when it first kind of became a thing, and it was like very like localized. You could get most of everything you were looking for on one app, or maybe 2 or 3 at the most. Now it's every platform, every single channel basically has their own app, and then a lot of them are doing what they can, like with what WWE did with Peacock, right? Like all these apps are basically vying for market share and trying to buy up whatever streaming rights they can to these bigger companies that they know will generate some type of viewership in their company. So it does skew the numbers a little bit, because there may be people that are still interested in watching but aren't able to because of the new streaming demands, I guess you could say.
I got a question though. So when you guys DVR, let's say you DVR Monday Night Raw, so how does that work with the ratings? Is that counted like somebody watching as it's being recorded?
Don't quote me, but I've always been told that like when they do that, like it all depends on like how quickly after it's recorded do you watch it. I think that determines how much of a point that gets, like, and again, I could be completely false. If anybody who's watching this knows the true answer, please feel free to tell me. But I'm 95% sure I've always heard it said that it depends on how quickly you're watching it after it's been recorded, for it to count towards the Nielsen points. I like the conversation we got in the comments. Uncle Chase, shout out to Uncle Chase doing his damn thing at GCW. I mean, we were talking about GCW at Harpo's. I mean, who do you guys want to see Uncle Chase face at Harpo's? That's what I want to know. Alex says he thinks eventually that they are going to go head-to-head with Raw and SmackDown. So they've gone head-to-head a lot, but I personally think it's best for them to kind of like the way they've got it carved out now. Like it would, at least with Dynamite being on Wednesday, because that way they've got like their whole own day, kind of just to like get their shit out. But then again, like, I mean, I don't think it's too far fetched to say that if they did, like, say they did put it on Monday and went head to head with Raw, I mean, I wouldn't argue. I mean, I don't think it would be a big stretch of an argument to say that AEW could probably give Raw, quite a run for its money. But that being said, we also got to take into account, I mean, I've said this multiple times and I still believe it now. Will AEW give them issues? Sure, but I feel like WWE has its diehards. So whether their numbers drop, there's always going to be those diehards that turn in, because even to this day, when people say wrestling, the first thing they think of is WWE. So in my opinion, there will always be some people on the WWE side, but I definitely think we're inching more and more closer to a time where AEW really could give a Raw or SmackDown an issue.
What I want to pose one question, since you kind of brought that subject up, I guess you could say. Do you guys like when they go on the same night and they're kind of, even if they're in different time slots, do you like that it's the same night? Or what, like you say, Kyle, would you rather it be separate days so that they can kind of have their own shine and be able to garner their own fan base off of that, instead of trying to, I don't know, piggyback or even like the competition aspect's a good thing to a degree, but is it a good thing when you're on the same night? Like, I feel like that takes away from it a little bit.
Well, you go first, J-Bone.
I mean, I think you're right. It does take away from it now, but like, I mean, going back to like the Monday Night Wars, dude, they were there was literally a team watching Raw to compete with them on Nitro. You know what I mean? They were going back, they were giving away results, on the pre-tape stuff. It was ridiculous. So I feel like in a sense it could create a lot of friction and competition, but for the fan, dude, honestly, I mean, let's be honest. As adults, we have such a shorter attention span. I don't want to be sitting there going back and forth, trying to keep up. I just want to chill. I just want to chill and watch it. You know what I mean? So that's just my personal opinion. But
there's some, I know, as a very across the board fan of many sports, there's some nights I'm sitting there watching a Pistons game. I'm watching some football. I'm watching the fights go on at the same time. And I'm like, what the, my attention can only be so spread. Yeah. And if you're trying to
it makes it harder to dissect the art form of it. You know what I mean? You can't sit there and put your full thought in this, let's say a wrestling match on this show. If you want to go back over and watch Raw,
what
you're going to figure that out. It's not
breaking
easy.
Fucking news. Hot damn. Wow. WWE is on some other shit. Breaking news, apparently. So Fightful has learned that WWE has, and this is from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, WWE has released John Morrison, Top Dollar, Ashante Adonis, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, Shane Thorne, and Jackson Riker.
Oh.
Damn, dude, they are just purging their roster. Like, dude, okay, J-Bone, you haven't gotten to talk about this much. What were your thoughts on Hit Row?
I liked them, man. I thought it was fresh, it was new, but I did say on the episode we were with Matthew Priest that night. I don't.
You're not kidding, Chase. Holy shit is right. First we thought it was just BFAB, and now they just said fuck them all.
I think they would have flourished more. Just leave them in NXT. Let them become one of the faces of NXT. Would have been fine. But I feel like honestly, if they would have left them there, you wouldn't be seeing what's going on with them right now. You know what I mean? Well, they'd be sitting there and they'd be flourishing.
From an outsider's perspective, it seems like the direction that WWE is trying to take is they don't want anyone to be the face of NXT anymore. They want them to be able to be on the main roster before they even make it to that point.
And that's what the general consensus seems to be, that what they want NXT 2.0 to be is NXT 2.0 is to get them ready so that there's no real disconnect, which in a lot of ways I think will help them as far as the disconnect when they go to the main roster. But I just don't understand how they didn't see anything with Hit Row. Alex, I know you're always watching, man. What do you think about the release of the rest of Hit Row? I mean, here you go. When we were in Florida, ring the bell, and Lindsay Snow was doing my tattoo, Swerve Scott came with us and was sitting there with us in the tattoo shop. Dude couldn't have been any cooler and has been a star everywhere he's been. MLW, go ahead.
I forget what match it was, but as a, not lesser of a wrestling.
It was
fan,
the
somebody
gauntlet match.
Yeah, as somebody that was unaware of him for the most part, I thought he was one of the standout performers by far in that match. So it wasn't like it was a lack of ability or something like that.
Not at all.
I'm even surprised at that one, honestly.
You know, at the end though, like they say, man, there's always a light at the end of that tunnel. It could be good for those guys because there's a lot of talent over there that are tied up within WWE, man. Let's face it. The budget cut thing, I'm not buying it. That's bullshit. You're talking
budget cut. How are you going to say it's a budget cut? Because on their recent quarterly call that they just had like a week ago, they were reporting like record numbers. And, look, people in the office has got to be like starting to like feel a little bit like on edge because if you remember on that same quarterly call, the same lady who was announcing all that stuff, their CFO or COO or whatever it was, stepped down when all those releases got done. Like, I just don't, and here's one that's even a little more puzzling to me almost than Swerve Scott. You got rid of Top Dollar, AJ Francis, but AJ Francis was just on that WWE Hidden Treasure show that they had all over A&E. He was on every episode with every legend that they had on there. Yep. He was doing talk shows. He was doing like everything with them. And it's, sometimes I really would love to just be a fly on the wall just to like know what goes into it. For anybody who's just joining the stream, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like button, comment button, all that good stuff. We're talking about the list of releases, which again, for anybody who's joining the stream, we just learned that John Morrison, Top Dollar, Ashante Adonis, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, Shane Thorne, and Jackson Riker have all been released from WWE. I don't know, man. That's crazy. I mean,
let's open that door though. Let's open that door for those guys. That's a lot of good talent right there. Hopefully we see those guys somewhere down the line on some indie shows and stuff like that.
Sure. On the indies, I feel like, again, this goes back to what we've been talking about. I feel like the indies are going to have their resurgence with companies like GCW and stuff like that. But now with a company like Ring of Honor closing, which we'll talk about that with Final Battle coming up in a little over 2 weeks. But I mean, with another one of the big companies like Ring of Honor closing, I mean, there's not a lot of places for everybody to go right now. And I mean, let's face it, at a certain point, AEW is going to start getting top heavy. Like, they can't sign everybody.
Right.
And I know a lot of fans seem to get excited and kind of feel your sentiment, J-Bone, where they're like more excited to see what these guys are.
Totally room for a new third brand, though. Totally room for a new third brand.
It seems like they a lot of wrestlers seem to lose a lot of steam and momentum in their career once they get that release papers. I mean, sometimes it ends up working out in their favor, like you had noted, but sometimes it kind of like, I don't know if it weighs heavy on their, personal life or something like that, where they're like, hey, man, I strive so hard to get up to that level. I made it up to the big leagues and then fell.
It's probably the uncertainty, the uncertainty of anything like that's got to weigh heavy on you for sure. I mean, you got families to support, man. That's your job.
What up, no? We're talking about all the releases from today, bro. Did you see the new list of releases? I mean, basically the rest of Hit Row, Top Dollar, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, Jackson Riker, and Shane Thorne have all been released. I mean, where do you see them going, Smitty? I need some of that great knowledge that you bring us from the homies over there at Breaking Down the Ring. Like I said, let me know in the comments where you think some of these people are going to go. And I agree with what OSWF 248 says, man. I mean, let's be honest, bro. There's definitely room for a third brand now. I mean, here's the question. Who do you think that third brand's going to be? Do you think Ring of Honor is going to be able to rebound, with them saying they're taking a quote-unquote hiatus, or do you think they're just done with? Because that's another thing to talk about as we go into talking about AEW, because as we all saw, holy shit, what a match between Jay Lethal and fucking Sami Gavara, which, hey, Sami Gavara, if you're new here, we've interviewed him a couple times. Make sure you check that out when you're done with this. But holy hell, what a match that was. Damn.
Just a quick note on the whole third company thing, though. I think it would take, like, the underlying story that I feel like to this point, like, it was brought up more in the beginning, like when I first started doing the podcast and stuff and first started to kind of follow the wrestling world again, I guess you could say, is that, Tony Khan and how much money he was putting into AEW. that's a big reason why they've been able to garner all the success and stuff they have, is because they have somebody who's willing to invest the kind of money that's needed to sign all the talent and put on these high quality shows and garner all the, TV attention and so on and so forth. It would really take another, NBA, NFL owner or something like that to kind of step up and really garner that big payment for the first couple of years, honestly. And there may be room because of all the signings, because they're just in the last 3 months, there's been.
Well, I think what he's talking about is more so because Ring of Honor left that big void. I mean, there's not really, you can count Impact, I guess. Impact and Ring of Honor basically were, I would say, on equal footing. Impact even maybe a little bit higher with the relationship that they had with AEW. But dude, so my question is, and to go ahead.
Well, they were never, as much as like I had heard they had put on a ton of quality and stuff like that. Ring of Honor was never quite on the level of AEW, or especially not even a WWE by far.
Oh, definitely not.
And so if he's talking about a legitimate third, somebody that could be competitive in that realm, that's where I'm saying you would need that type of money investment.
Well, that's why I'm asking. So that leads into the question I have. So we mentioned like a company like MLW who had that fucking great show over there and has got all these people that are coming over. I mean, do you think that maybe like an MLW who has TV now on Vice with everything that's going on with Dark Side of the Ring and all that stuff, and then still having their presence on YouTube? Or do you think like a company like GCW? Like, again, I love it. Keep the comments coming, damn it. GCW can easily be the next ECW. Dark Side of the Ring is one of the biggest shows on cable. There's money to be made on cable for a third brand. That leads right into what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, do you think MLW can be that with them having that Vice connection? Because like you said, Dark Side of the Ring is on fire. And the fact that they got on the same platform as on that Vice platform, dude, hell yeah. Hell yeah, they definitely could. It's just a matter of, and they're getting a lot of names that are signing over there. But I also agree with what you're saying with GCW. I mean, GCW has caught fire. I mean, we were just at GCW Evil Deeds, and saw Uncle Chase do his thing against Leon Ruff and everybody. But dude, they definitely can. And Smitty, NWA expands, Impact Wrestling gets deeper, or AEW gets too overloaded. Other visible options are New Japan, CMLL, AAA, or I can see CZW or GCW rising to become a legit company. So I agree with that. I think GCW definitely can. I think CZW is basically kind of out of the running at this point. But dude, AAA has been, the number one over in Mexico for a while. I mean, we were just talking about it, at the top of the show. J-Bone and I are thinking about making a road trip, down to Chicago to go see our boy El Rudo de las Chicas, Sam Adonis over there in Chicago against Brody King formerly of Ring of Honor. So, I mean, definitely there's some stuff to be had. And like I said, he's doing his thing with La Impresa over there in AAA with Puma King and all those guys. They won't be back in December. They were just here, Smitty. That was the show we were talking about from the other night. But they will be back in Detroit in January at Harpo's.
Yeah.
They'll be back at Harpo's. Go ahead.
I'm excited for that Harpo show too. I'm glad that keeps getting a bunch of promotion. But because I have liked a ton of what I've seen from GCW, because now I've been to 2 of their events. They are fun. They are entertaining. But my only thing is, and I guess I pose this more of a question than a statement really, is...
Well, then you better be there, damn it.
Do you guys think that the whole deathmatch thing is going to hold them down from being a viable option, really? Or do you think that kind of makes them stand out more, I guess you could say?
Say that one more time.
The deathmatch aspect of GCW, the fact that they kind of, from at least the 2 events that I've been to, both of them were capped with deathmatch main events. So do you feel like that would be something that would stop them from being able to garner something like a big TV deal and stuff like that, to garner the real foothold that you would need to become something
Definitely the deathmatch stuff. I mean, even though we've seen some of that on AEW, I feel like that's something you can only do in little bits when you're on live TV. Like, I feel like all that blood, although fans like us would love it, like the diehards would love it, I don't know, but I mean, they definitely can keep growing. And I mean, look, let's face it. I mean, you know, he's right on the money. GCW has sold out their shows for months now, wherever Keith Lee and Bray Wyatt land. I still think, J-Bone, what do you think? Where do you think, and Smitty, I want to know what you think. Where do you think Bray's going to end up? For me, I think Bray ends up over in AEW personally. Keith Lee, I definitely think could show back up on a GCW real quick. And I mean, hell, we're talking about Keith Lee. What about his lady, Mia Yim? Son of a bitch, she was good in TNA. And they never really did anything with her once she got out of NXT and they put her in that retribution shit. I can't wait to see what she does on the indies. But J-Bone, what do you think about GCW, and where do you think Bray Wyatt's going to end up?
Man, GCW, I haven't been to a live GCW. I'm sorry. I went to GCW versus Horseland. But the GCW you guys went to, Evil Deeds, man, I was watching that on Fight, and I felt that crowd. And I'm like, dude, this has got ECW-esque written all over it. You know what I mean? But that company's going to grow. It's going to get bigger, especially with guys like Cardona over there. That's, believe it or not, a big name, and that's working well in their favor. As far as,
and to have Chelsea Green show up too, man. I'm still saying it right here now on Knockouts and Three Counts. Brett Lauderdale, if you hear this, I want to see Effie and, damn it, Allie Catch versus Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green in fucking Detroit in January. I'm saying it.
Somebody I recently just started checking out on Twitter and YouTube. She is fucking damn good. AEW. Now, Keith Lee, man, I'd love to see Keith Lee bounce around. I'd love to see Keith Lee pop up in New Japan, MLW, GCW, everywhere. I'd love to see it before he gets a landing spot. Obviously, a guy like that deserves a good contract, and he's going to be huge wherever he goes. But I'd like to see him bounce around because I feel like he would mix anywhere he goes.
Smitty coming with the heat. What about Taya and Morrison? Dude, they need to go back to Mexico. Johnny Mundo and Taya Valkyrie were the absolute shit. Dude, she was an absolute savage over there in AAA and with the Reina de Reinas champion. And hell, they could go right back to Impact. They could just go right back to Impact. They were both champs there too, and they were doing great shit with Rosemary and all that. I mean, dude, they could easily go back there. I think Impact or AAA would be the best place for Morrison and Taya. All right, now we got off into the weeds a little bit on that one. Let's talk a little bit about AEW and what we saw last night. As I mentioned, cowboy shit was in full effect. They were doing some cowboy shit on AEW Dynamite last night because we have a new AEW World Champion, which, hey, we interviewed him. So if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and go check that out afterward. But what are your guys' thoughts on Hangman Page finally capping the 2-year odyssey and winning the world title? And what are your thoughts on what we saw last night and what looks like what could be the implosion of the Elite between Kenny Omega and Adam Cole? J-Bone, I'll leave that to you first.
That's good stuff, man. The whole Hangman Page thing, that, like I said, I'm always a fan of long-term storytelling. That's something that we've been missing, especially in WWE lately. The way that capped off was great, dude. And then the involvement of the Young Bucks and all that, man, good stuff. Great job by AEW to get that. It's been since AEW started, that's been kind of the story in there with Hangman Page. And for him to finally capture that, like I said, long-term storytelling in wrestling, I like it, dude. And then
I'm with you, dude. Go ahead.
As far as the Elite thing, man, with Omega and the Bucks and everything, and Adam Cole, I like it, but I'm not ready for it. You know what I mean? Like, I like those guys as a group, super click and all that stuff, but I think there's something behind the Kenny Omega. Is he hurt? Then I read that he might be hurt.
Well, they've been saying Kenny's been hurt for a while. Like, Kenny's been wrestling hurt for a long time. But I mean, who could blame the guy for wanting to keep going when he's holding world titles in multiple promotions? Right. And I mean, let's give Kenny Omega his fucking flowers. Can we just talk about how good of a title reign that guy had? I mean, he held the belt for 350 days, defended it everywhere, won titles across multiple promotions. I mean, hell, we haven't seen that we haven't seen that in years. So first of all, before I say anything, shout out to Kenny Omega on a great title reign, in my opinion. But with that being said, like, they're already sowing the seeds, because if you watch Being the Elite, you remember that when they had to off Adam Cole so he could go to WWE, it was Kenny Omega. And if you pay attention, when they were going back and forth, he's like, all right, Cleaner, I can hold the fort down while you're gone. And he was like, no, I was talking to the Bucks. And there's already kind of heat there. So I think what we're going to see in the meantime is I don't think the Bucks and Adam Cole are going to slow down at all. I think they'll blow up even more, so that when Kenny returns, Adam Cole's going to be sitting there like, well, man, I'm the man now. You had to go away. I've been over here doing my thing, and you ain't the man no more. So I kind of feel like that's what we're seeing, but I think it was a perfect time to see Hangman win the title. I think it was well-deserved, and I loved the fact that when he hit the final buckshot lariat to finish him, like, he stopped and looked at Matt Jackson, because if you remember before the match, he told him, if you get in the way, I'll end you. I liked the look at the end, and Matt just looked at him and nodded and let him hit him, and that was it. I think him winning clean was the right way to go. I think Kenny Omega is a monster as a champion, but I think Hangman is going to be a great babyface champion. Hey, it's Kyle. It's Kyle. I was talking to the Bucks that is planting seeds. I agree. The seeds that they planted are going to be great when Kenny does return. But what are your thoughts on our new world champion, J-Bone?
Love it, man. I think it's great. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with him and Danielson, though. I didn't expect Danielson to do the whole, tease at the heel thing in the ring the other night, but I'm with it. Hey, it's going to be a good match, dude, whenever it does happen. I do hope that Hangman holds on to this belt for a while, though. He needs to. He can't have a short run, dude. That's one thing I would love to bring back into mainstream wrestling is prestige for titles. Like, those titles don't just change hands and flip-flop back and forth. I hate when titles do that. It just takes away from the belt. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very important and big deal to have that championship belt. So hopefully it lasts for a long time. Yeah. And usually you're supposed to retain it for some length of time, especially, in wrestling. But with that being said, I feel like Kenny Omega, he had a great run as somebody who had heard a ton about him when I was kind of starting to do my research going into the wrestling world. I myself was never like mind blown with him, but it seemed like literally every wrestling fan in the history of people that I've talked to that are wrestling fans seemed to love his title run and everything he did. So shout out him for being able to keep garnering the fan attention over multiple promotions while still reigning as champ. Well, I think I know how to explain it to you. So I got a comparison from the MMA world that I think will make sense with you. So the reason why that title reign is so significant is not only was he AEW champion for a while, he at one point was holding AEW, Impact, AAA, all at the same time, and to do it across multiple companies, multiple countries, and it's like the same as like back in the day when you saw Eddie Alvarez, who had the Dream title, and he had multiple titles at one spot. The fact that you're doing that, it's been so long since we've seen like a recognized world champion who, you could literally see anywhere and you never knew where he was going to show up next. Yeah. And for him to do that over almost a full year period, again, like J-Bone was saying, I agree 100%. And to piggyback off what you said, I'm a big fan of long title reigns. Now, yes, there needs to be times where there's like that spontaneous flip, but I think it was really well done. I agree with you 100%. I think Hangman needs to hold this title for a while. But the crazy thing to go with that is now I think American wrestling fans are getting to see the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, as a heel for the first time in a long time. And he beat the shit out of Evil Uno last night. And I loved the little things that we saw in the match. Like, you want to disrespect me? And he's got him in a corner and just smacking the piss out of Evil Uno. Just straight back and forth pie face in his ass, just smacking the shit out of him. And then
when he goes to throw his kicks, he's just wailing on this man's chest. So I love the difference in the intensity that we see in the Bryan Danielson matches now since we've seen this mean streak. And I think with that mean streak and the fact that he's going to push Hangman Page, I think Bryan Danielson could be just the guy to really like bolster him as like, hey, this guy, this is why he's the heavyweight champion. Because I even liked what he said in the promo. Did you notice how Hangman kind of like threw that shot at Bryan Danielson? Because if you remember, him and Kenny Omega went to the 30-minute draw, and he's like, "Well, I beat Kenny, and if I'm not mistaken, I did it in less than 30 minutes."
Yeah. Wrestling psychology.
I love little shit like that. That's the storytelling, bro.
Little seed. That's what makes the long term. That brings you more in. Make me come in. I need to focus more. You know what I mean? That's the little things. That's the wrestling psychology right there. That shit works.
Well,
Go ahead.
One thing I can say about Hangman Page, because yet again, less familiar with the wrestling world. I'm less familiar with Hangman Page other than the stories that have been told to me from other people. I feel like they did a really good job of selecting somebody that their fans are already behind. And somebody kind of like similar to the Kenny Omega thing where he is, with all the star power that they've signed over the last couple of years, months, especially with like the Bryan Danielson and the CM Punks and so on, for them to pick somebody like him, they're able to really try to build up another star while still retaining all their other ones. So I feel like the move's a good directional move, if that makes sense.
Yep. Somebody kind of homegrown instead of a quote-unquote WWE guy. Yeah, that makes sense. I get it.
And he's still so young, too. Kyle coming in, he got in here a little late. We were talking a little bit about those releases, bro. Those releases are insane because Hit Row, them getting rid of the rest of Hit Row is insane to me, especially with Top Dollar, because like I said, he was all over the AEW or A&E show that they did and all that, too. It's wild that they're getting rid of all these people. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than it doesn't make any sense. But, J-Bone, you talked about wrestling psychology. If what we saw on Wednesday is what's next for MJF, holy shit, we could have some of the best build-up in wrestling history. Oh, my God. They could talk me into wanting to go see this wherever in the country that this happens, just purely based off of the shit talking that's going to happen.
I'm watching that, man.
Go ahead.
I just when Punk's music hit, when he said there's nobody better than me or whatever, and Punk's music hit, I just smiled. I'm like, yeah, here we go. This is gonna be one of those feuds that may even be better on the mic than it is inside the ring, because it's gonna be a war of words that are gonna be unmatched, incredible, and maybe even blur the lines of reality in the wrestling world, man. These guys.
Well, they're gonna get. I feel like with CM Punk and MJF, man, they're gonna get right down to the nitty gritty, bro. Yeah. Like, I think MJF's gonna be pulling shit out about his wife, and dude, that match that match that MJF and Darby Allin had, and the way that they worked that headlock through the whole thing, and you listen to what MJF said himself. MJF might be very stuck up, but what he said on TV is very true for AEW. He said that the 4 pillars of AEW, the ones that are going to carry them into the future, are going to be him, Darby Allin, who are the other, Jungle Boy, and Sami Gavara. And I can't argue that. We're going to talk a little bit about Sami Gavara because, Kyle, I want to know what you thought about Jay Lethal's debut on Dynamite. Dude, I think, like I said, as far as young talent, those are 4 great pillars to stake a new company in because, man, to go along with that, I mean, I've said for a long time now, and you can check it out in the interview that we got to do with MJF, I mean, dude, I firmly stand on saying that I think he's the best heel in the business, period. Like, I think if we were back in the 80s, they would have to be giving that kid police escorts to get the fuck out. And when you throw that with him going in there with CM Punk, oh my God. Just the thought of the shit that they will think of to say.
One thing I really like with what AEW has been able to do, right, is especially with all the signings and stuff they have and all the people that they keep bringing in, they end up with this large list of what I like to call inevitabilities, like matches that necessarily need to happen, whether it be now or 2 years from now. It's on the list of inevitables. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. They've done a really good job of checking those off the list in a way that people aren't necessarily expecting, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Especially for guys like CM Punk too, because we haven't seen him in so many years. It's good to see him come and take on the new talent, man. These guys that you would never expect to even see him in the ring with, guys like MJF, So it's something that I'm glad we're here for. You know what I mean? It's just, man, it's gonna take, and not even just like MJF is obviously a star, best heel in the business right now, but this is gonna slingshot him even further, especially within the AEW. This is gonna be I'll say it right here. I don't know. We don't want to jump to predictions and conclusions, but I think this is going to be Punk's first loss in AEW.
Oh,
I mean,
that would be very interesting.
Quote me, tweet it, mark my words, man. I'm a CM Punk guy, but
you said clip it, so make sure you're following us at the social medias. You might have we might have to share out old J-Bone's thoughts when AEW Rampage is on there tomorrow. Again, hey, everybody that's joining the stream, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Keep them comments coming, Kyle. I appreciate you, brother, man. We got to get you back here on the show with us soon. But keep them coming.
To comment on Kyle's point, actually, how he was bringing up the fact that they were trying to ready for a sale because of the fact that they're releasing a lot of this young talent. I feel like, if anything, you can look at the opposite direction in like the UFC, where they just went up for public auction. They just became publicly traded. And they've kind of gone the complete opposite direction, where they're letting go a lot of their high-paid talent and bringing in all these contender series guys and stuff, because their value is in the UFC, the 3-letter acronym. It's not necessarily so much in the athletes. It's in the ability to put on events, the ability to garner TV promotions and contracts and stuff with ESPN. It's less about the athletes. And I feel like if WWE was trying to go that direction, they'd be doing the same thing, because they've already built up such a name value where Peacock's giving them $1 billion just to own their streaming.
Fox gave them $1 billion in the last 2 years too.
Yeah. So,
and we're talking billions with the B.
If you're talking about trying to get rid of people to make a sale more appetizing or something like that, I feel like it would be the opposite. You would see them eliminating a lot of the higher paid older athletes compared to getting rid of the up and comer guys. In my opinion, at least.
I can't imagine that company going out of the hands of said Vince McMahon or Stephanie or Shane or Triple H or something. I can't even picture it within like who would pick it up? Like, I don't know, like fucking Mark Cuban or somebody that can afford the shit. You know what I mean? Like, what are they gonna do with that? Like, that's wrestling, dude. Like, what are we gonna do?
As a long-time UFC fan, I did not see the Fertitta brothers getting rid of the UFC. Right. And here we are with Endeavor. So
yeah, true.
I mean, like I said, it's definitely possible, and that's what Kyle's saying in the comments. I mean, I mean, it's definitely a possibility, but it's just hard to think that you'd ever do that, because even at that, WWE, as of now, still is the kingpin. And I mean, SmackDown, has still been pretty decent for the most part. With that being said, Kyle brought up the other thing that I want to talk about from AEW Rampage before we talk a little bit about Survivor Series that's going to happen and how we would change it. Holy shit. The debut of Jay Lethal. I mean, dude, I agree 100% with what Kyle said. He said he thinks that Jay was a great signing. He's still in his prime and polished in the ring on the mic. And having him in the TNT title picture is genius. I agree, dude. I mean, Jay Lethal and Sami Gavara fucking killed it, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and I loved the nod to Black Machismo or Macho Man in the beginning of his song. I don't know that I would have went the rock vibe with him, but I mean, dude, J-Bone, what were your thoughts on Sami Gavara versus Jay Lethal?
First of all, what a great match. Probably maybe the match of the night, man. But Putting him in the ring with, I mean, like you said, Jay Lethal, he's a vet, dude. He's the pros pro. So putting that guy in the ring with anybody, it's just gonna polish up the guy that he's with. Not to mention, take the whole AEW thing away. That dude deserves it. That dude deserves to be where he's at in AEW in a title picture because the dude's been putting in work for years, and everywhere he goes, he is good. So shout out to him, man. Good for him. Good for Jay Lethal. He deserves that spot.
I couldn't agree more. And I mean, I think if anybody's still wondering where Ring of Honor's headed, I mean, that was like the franchise of their company. And if he's gone and says he's not going to be on Final Battle, I mean, and before we get off it, I mean, like I said, Jay Lethal versus Sami Gavara, if you haven't watched it, dude, you need to go back and watch that match. It was definitely worth it. It was a good 15-minute solid match. But with that being said, that brings up another good question in and of itself. So, you had the TNT championship match, but now, where do you go? Where do you go from there? Because Ring of Honor's got Final Battle. He says he's not going to be in there. And we also are hearing rumors that the Briscoes were backstage at AEW. You want to talk about another coup to an already stacked tag team division. They just came in, and you mentioned GCW. They won the GCW tag team championships. Holy hell. What are your thoughts on if we can see the Briscoes in AEW, J-Bone?
I love it, man. I like that. They're
one of those boys.
They're one of those unique tag teams that you like to see. That those are another guys, journeyman, dude. I love to see those guys everywhere. As much as everybody wants to get a payday and be committed, I like to see a tag team like the Briscoes bounce around, like the Bucks did back in the day. Bounce around, hit these other promotions because they will fit in anywhere they go, and I think it's good for their personal brand, dude.
So I think they're going to do that for a little bit. Like, I think we'll see them bounce around, but I feel like it's time for the Briscoes to get their shine on a major company.
They deserve it.
Like, I mean, everybody knows them for Ring of Honor. They were clearly going to end their careers in Ring of Honor, but now that the door has been opened for them to have to go to another place, I'd like to see them show up different places like GCW and all that, but I feel like at this point, I want to see them on a main stage now. You're not lying, Corey or Kyle. It's definitely a shame with Ring of Honor. It's a bummer. We just were talking. Shout out to Shane T and Caprice Coleman. I was talking to him on Twitter the other day. I mean, shit. Caprice Coleman can still go too, man. Caprice, if you hear this, like I said, I meant to say open door policy. I said open dope policy, but we have an open door policy here. Like I said, you're always welcome on the show. All right. Well, the last matter at hand, as far as the wrestling end goes, is Survivor Series. And I would argue that it's pretty much a 2-match card, really. Like, I mean, let's be honest. You got Big E versus Roman Reigns, and then you got Becky versus Charlotte, which Becky versus Charlotte alone is enough to make me want to watch that match. The story that's building between them and the fact that there's literally organic heat between them. Like, they clearly have got issues, and you can see that from each other's interviews, even Becky Lynch on Ariel Helwani's show and all that too. Go ahead.
I was going to bring that point up as well, man. For somebody that kind of was like, oh, a lot of the MMA Hour fans kind of rag when Ariel Helwani brings on the wrestlers. And sometimes I'm of the same ilk because a lot of them will try to play characters and stuff like that. But Becky Lynch, man, she was on there and she sold that match like no other. Like, she was herself. She was completely not like a character or anything like that. She just made that match that much more appetizing for somebody who was already wanting to see it. So it really did kind of put a cherry on top of that one for me. And I could see why you're kind of saying it's a 2-match card because it's just not garnering much fan attention at all.
So, and here's the thing with that, dude. Like, it's not even that it's not garnering. Like, we were talking about this leading into Survivor Series. I feel like a lot of the reason why, I mean, Survivor Series has already been losing steam for a few years, but I think the other thing that really shoots at least the Survivor Series aspect in the foot is the fact that you just did these drafts like a month ago. Like, if I just got drafted over there, why do I give a shit about brand supremacy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's why, again, that leads us the perfect way to segue into our question. Kyle, I know you're watching. I want your thoughts, everybody who's watching. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But I posed all of you guys a question on our social medias. I said, if you could change the Survivor Series matches in one way, whether that's making it where like the sole survivor gets to be number 30 at the Royal Rumble, or the winning team gets, whatever it is. I think the best way to do it, in my opinion, and the only way I could really see it to where it makes sense, is like the Royal Rumble's a perfect idea. I think if, let's say if it ends up being like 3-on-1, if you're the sole survivor, I think you should get number 30. If there's more than one person on there, what if there's more than one person, what if you do that and then have them face each other for number 30, but do something to where there's a reason for me to want to win Survivor Series? Because I just feel like for so long, I mean, I don't know. And I was at Survivor Series when Undertaker came out of the burning casket and all that stuff. So for all of you guys who are watching this, if you could change Survivor Series in any way, whether that's to add a stipulation to the match, whether that's to do away with the regular Survivor Series match, whatever that might be, how do you think they can change Survivor Series for the better? What do you think, J-Bone?
I had a thought earlier, man. Maybe if we hold off the draft till after Survivor Series and maybe use that, who wins these Survivor Series matches for your brand, maybe you can gain more draft picks or whatnot. But as far as like the Royal Rumble thing would be good too, but I feel like that number 30 spot, as they say, number 1 has won just as many times as number 30, whatever that stat was. I don't think it goes far as like winning number 30, because number 30 doesn't always win. And if they do, it's like, whatever. It's kind of expected. Everybody thinks that number 30 is going to win all the time, which they don't in the Royal Rumble. That's just how it is. But maybe put that draft in between Survivor Series and Royal Rumble. That way the brands can kind of juggle back and forth wins and losses, and whoever wins gets more draft picks or something like that. But we just need it to mean more. There's nothing Survivor Series for what? Like, what am I tuning in for besides those singles matches?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I would totally be cool if we got rid of the brand. Like, the whole brand split thing at this point really doesn't do anything for me anymore. Like, it made sense when...
I'd be cool if you go back to the old traditional Survivor Series. Back in the early 90s, late 80s, man, I was loving the 4-on-4, 5-on-5 matches. Those were great. They're just bringing more guys to the table, showcasing more skills and talents, man, and letting them do what they got to do on TV. Gets more guys on TV. You could even bring in NXT and NXT UK to have a face-off 4-on-4. 5-on-5.
They did that a few years ago and it worked great, but now that they've said, now they said they don't want that. It's like, what were you going to say, Corey?
I was going to say I've heard that point argued a lot now of they should just get rid of the brand split because it's just not working out as much as it used to. And I feel like with the modern era of streaming and everything like that, it would make all the sense in the world to end the brand split, because realistically it's you're watching WWE at this point or you're not. It's like you're either a fan of them or you're not. Where before it was like so many people were like, oh, I'm diehard this and fuck these guys, but they were still watching the other guys because they wanted to be able to say fuck what happened during the event. So it was like they garnered enough attention both ways, where now it's just kind of like people are shitting on Raw in a genuine bad way, just saying that it's not good, not enjoyable. Like they're not saying it like a fuck you kind of way. They're saying it like I'm just not watching it. So if they were able to end the brand split, kind of work more cohesive stories together with all the athletes that would be able to be, on hand at any given time. And plus they'd be able to run the stories for a lot longer, because the stories wouldn't be once a week. They would be twice a week.
And that's how it used to be. Like back with Stone Cold and The Rock, man, they would fight across Raw and SmackDown. That's why I'm saying if you did away with the brand split, there would be more room to be able to get people over, and you wouldn't be so constrained. because I understand a lot of it probably had to do with they thought by splitting the brands, you know, and having specific rosters, it would give people who didn't have like as much spotlight a chance. But at this point, I feel like, I mean, we've been watching this for so long at this point that I feel like the brand split really has no, you know, legitimacy to it anymore. Like what Kyle said, what Xavier Woods suggested. I love this idea. What if the winning team gets spots 25 through 30 in the Rumble and the losing team has to come in spots 1 through 5 in the Royal Rumble?
I'd be all right with that.
I think it. And here's the thing, to go back to what you said, if you do, if you do it that way, you know, like you said back in the day, how you used to like the 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches, then it doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, well, these guys are all cool on a team. It won't matter who you put on the teams anymore, because then you would just want to be on the Survivor Series team just for the simple fact that then you could get one of those 5 spots, 25 through 30 in the Rumble. You know what I mean? Then there's an actual reason for everybody to want to be on it. I think that's a great idea. I think Roman Reigns versus Big E is going to be good. I honestly wouldn't be mad if Big E got the dub in this one, but I feel like there might be a bullshit finish to this one. How do you see it, and who are you picking, J-Bone?
I'm gonna have to go with Roman, man. I mean, his losses have been so few and far between. I mean, look at what was it last week on SmackDown? Technically, Xavier Woods is the first dude to beat Roman Reigns in how long? That's his first loss. I mean, you have to go back and check the stats, but the guy doesn't lose, and he's put on a hell of a show and a hell of a reign as champion. So I think he's going to establish himself as, you know, as the main guy in WWE, and I think that this is the perfect pay-per-view to do it. And some say that could be even why they put that belt on Big E, is that way Roman's not beating one of those higher level guys, which I think Big E is a top level guy.
I think Big E's a fucking main eventer, and anybody that doesn't think that at this point is an idiot.
Of him having the title, man, it's fucking perfect. But that's just what you read on, you know, on Twitter and social media and stuff like that. But I think Roman Reigns is going to take this one easily.
Okay,
Big E. I think Big E has done, and every time his name's been brought up in the show since, I've tried to do my best to highlight this. He's done an amazing job for somebody who doesn't pay attention to all the wrestling world and everything like that. He's done an amazing job of garnering the attention of outside fan bases, like when he did the Wilder Fury intro. He's just done a really good job of kind of like working his way into pop culture. Like he's really like that belt back in my childhood, and I'm sure both of yours as well, you know, that used to be like a golden ticket to get you into any event and any type of thing that you wanted to. You just had to go there and walk around with your belt, and guess what? You're the champ of the world, so they're going to let you in. It seems like a ton of the champs in the modern era across all sports haven't really taken advantage of that gold belt treatment. They're not showing up at events. They're not doing the kind of like walking press, the walking billboard, I guess you could say, of themselves. But Big E has done an amazing job of doing that since he's garnered the belt and been able to just bring in fans from every genre, I guess, that he can. He's done a really good job. That friendly, welcoming personality takes him, you know, levels above the rest.
And that's why I don't think we're going to see a clear winner in that match. Because I feel like if they have Big E lose that clean, I mean, granted, Roman's the biggest star they got, so it's arguable that if he loses to him, it wouldn't hurt him super bad. But that's why I think we're going to get a bullshit finish out of this. I think it's going to end somehow in a disqualification, whether that's the Usos are going to get involved, you know, the New Day gets involved to try to help E. I kind of feel like that's the way that they're going to go with this one. So for me, I think it ends in a DQ on this one once the Usos or somebody gets involved.
Hey, maybe Brock jumps the barricade and just lays out Roman, right?
I mean, we still got to finish that story because I know we haven't heard the end of Brock Lesnar. So, like I said, that's something to look forward to. Well, before we get off Survivor Series and completely switch to the combat sports side of things, what are your thoughts on this whole Charlotte Becky thing? This match has really got me wanting to watch it because, man, like the back and forth with that, do you think, I guess the question I want to pose is, do you think that with them doing this Becky versus Charlotte match, I feel like with the way that this is built up, we have to have a definitive winner. There has to be a definitive winner in this one, especially for the story that's coming with it. And I mean, you talk about having like the two most dominant women as champion right now. I mean, hell, I feel like this match is going to be a banger. I feel like Becky's got to get the dub in this one, right? But I don't know. It's definitely up in the air. What are your thoughts on the Bill J-Bone? And what do you think about old Ric Flair taking some shots at Becky on Twitter?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping Becky would walk away with this one. I honestly, with the heat behind the scenes and everything that's been going on, I think it's best to like get this out of the way now, because the one thing you don't want to have, and because it really doesn't work, is two people that have real life heat, in matches, engaging in matches, not to mention more than one. You don't know what's going to happen in there, man. These guys could have a secret agenda and be pissed off and go in there and drop somebody on their head and hurt somebody. You don't want that, but they're going to make it. It's going to be a good match on Sunday. And the build up with it, just the people that are digging into it outside with the real life stuff, makes it even more engaging for us. Because now, what I mean? That's what I want to see. I want to see that real life pissed off Becky Lynch, pissed off Charlotte Flair going at it, man, hoping something, sneaks through the curtain, some realism. Let's blur the line of reality here and something happens. So it's good, man. I'm looking forward to that. As far as Ric Flair, did you hear his podcast? His new podcast?
I keep hearing it that he came back in the podcast world. I haven't gotten to listen to it yet, but Ric Flair behind the mic doesn't give a fuck. I listened to the first episode.
I listened to the first episode today. You want to hear that? You're gonna want to check that out. I'm already waiting for next week's episode too. There is some
dude. His podcast was the shit when he used to have Woo Nation. So I am totally all for him being back behind the mic.
There's some dirt on there. You're gonna want to hear that.
Well, dude, he said in a tweet that he said he feels like WWE completely erased his legacy and he wants his 2 NWA titles back from him.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that, man. He's got some good shit to say on there.
Oh, yeah. Nate. I definitely got to see what's going to happen from the Nates. We're going to hear about him Nating. But that's not all that's going down this weekend. Besides BCWA Cataclysm, as we spoke about, there was a new champion last weekend in Bare Knuckle FC. And I mean, Mark the Shark Irwin, he claims to have seen the future a lot in his posts. Well, he may have seen the future outcome in that fight with Lorenzo Juggernaut Hunt and Hector Lombard. I mean, I got to give credit. I really kind of thought after all the shit talking, I really thought Hector Lombard was going to go in there and handle business. But I don't know. Lorenzo Hunt's going to be an interesting look in that BKFC ring.
He did a really good job of controlling range and just allowing, I guess, somebody who's normally able to just get off with all these power punches in the shorter range. He was able to really dictate the whole fight. He kept it entertaining for a decision in bare knuckle, which you don't normally get to say, because normally it's like, oh, hey, somebody gassed out in the third round and that's why we ended up at a decision, is because both guys were unable to compete at a real level. That wasn't the case in this fight. They were both still trying, but I was surprised, I guess, with the ease that Lorenzo Hunt was able to win that fight. Would be my big takeaway from it. I thought Hector Lombard, with being able to get the belt and do everything that he's been able to do over in BKFC, I thought he would have been able to bring the fight a little bit more. I know he was trying, but he just didn't look like he had it that night, to be frank.
I just feel like I don't think Hector Lombard expected Hunt to be able to just walk through his shots. I think Lombard was purely expecting that once he touched him, he was gonna put him down. So, like I said, great overall performance from Lorenzo Hunt. It'll definitely be interesting to see what's next for him. There was also a great fight between Dat Win and Palomino, but I definitely think that they got that decision right next. And I mean, hell, Dat Win has really kind of backed himself into corner, because now, you had the belt, now you went for another belt, now you lost. I mean,
but he moved up a 20-pound weight difference. He moved from 135 to 155. I mean, realistically, I don't know. if I'm not mistaken, there isn't too many 145s. I think they just do kind of catch weight bouts at 140 in BKFC. But that being said, he definitely still has a ton of opportunity. I was almost surprised when I heard he was making the move back to BKFC because they kind of denounced him as a champion and stuff because he kind of left him hanging. Realistically, he won the belt from Johnny Bedford and then demanded a ton in a contract and then ended up leaving the belt vacant for like a year and a half. So I'm surprised he ended up making the move back. And then for him to do it 2 weight classes up, I feel like there's still moves for him. I'm just surprised, I guess, that he's back in BKFC, to be honest with you. But if we're talking BKFC on the night, I feel like I kind of called it when we were going over the show the week beforehand. That Pearl Gonzalez versus Britton Hart fight was definitely the standout fight on the night, in my eyes, at least.
Oh, dude, I mean, think about it. It's females, bro. They usually always scrap, and then when you throw a dude in the middle of it, I mean, that kind of didn't help the situation either. I mean, I'm not mad at you. I mean, I've seen Pearl Gonzalez's Instagram. I know what you were looking at, Beltran. I'm not mad at you. But, I mean, yeah, that was definitely – I mean, and Mark said that was the fight that he was looking forward to most. I mean, hell had no fury like a woman scoring. For everybody who's joining the stream, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're talking about BKFC. Definitely good performance. I don't know how well Pearl does overall in BKFC. I mean, I think that's the story with a lot of these people that are going to come over.
Her first fight was incredibly impressive.
She looked good, but so, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know, like even Rachel Ostovich. I don't know that I see Rachel Ostovich coming in there and just knocking people off either. Like, she looked good. I'm not saying they didn't look good, but do I see them like longevity wise? Like Britton Hart just don't give a shit. Yeah. You know, them, I feel like you might see a few fights. I mean, the same with Paige. Hell, I wouldn't be shocked if Paige tries to transition over to wrestling, dude. I mean, if we're really being frank, I mean, because like I said, she right now seems like she's just all about the money. And speaking about all about the money, Triangle Triad, are you watching it? How do you feel about it? Do they need to just stop all this Triller shit altogether? Because like I said in my comment, I mean, at least there's Metallica.
At least there's Metallica. Yeah. At least there's Mike Perry. So there may be some garner of attention in some fun fight there, depending on which version of him we see. And I don't know if you've seen this. This was something that I actually read just like a half hour, 45 minutes before the show. But BYB, which is another bare knuckle promotion that has been using the Triangle ring for about a year and a half now, had exclusive copyrights on the Triangle ring. So they're actually actively suing Triller. They released a huge statement today that they're basically like saying like, if you continue on with the event, as much cease and desist stuff as we've sent you, then you are like fully liable for everything that's going to be handled down. So I'm curious what we're going to still end up seeing in this whole Triad thing. It seems like one thing Triller's been really good at is finding ways to fuck things up. So I'm not. Is it a pay-per-view? Do I have to just have?
Yes, it's a pay-per-view.
Who's gonna be buying a fucking pay-per-view with fucking Frank Mir as like the headline?
I think that's why they put Metallica on it, dude.
Because I was about to say, that's why Metallica came in. You're selling a concert too. So.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought about buying it just for the simple fact that I'd love to watch Metallica again. Like literally, like that was like a last ditch. Like, let me shoot a shot in the dark. Let me get who's the biggest one I can get that's close to here. Oh, Metallica lives here. Let me get Metallica. That's kind of what that. That's kind of what that seemed like to me.
It says the price tag on it's $30. So hey, $30 for a Metallica concert. I'm with it.
Ooh. I guess if you're
that's a whole hell of a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like $50.
I guess if you're looking
they get
at
sued, it might go down.
A Metallica ticket is definitely significantly less. So if you're
looking at Metallica for $30, so
hey,
favorite Metallica song, J-Bone?
Ooh, Enter Sandman? No. For Whom the Bell Tolls? No. Am I, dude? Come on, you can't. You guys did this shit. You did this shit to me the other night with the Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair thing. You can't put me on the spot like that,
motherfucker. You're the one that runs the music show. You're the one always saying send your picks. You're supposed to be the one that just knows.
How do you pick your favorite Metallica song? Let me.
I mean,
get back to that.
You can't go wrong with either one of those. Whether you're seeing Sandman come down through the Hammerstein, swinging around the kendo stick, or you got fucking Nick Gage coming out with the For Whom the Bell Tolls, bro. I mean, hey, I loved when I saw Metallica live. Metallica was the shit live. For anybody who's watching, if you guys are Metallica fans, let me know in the comments what your favorite Metallica song is.
Closest thing I've ever seen Metallica live was Creepy Cheapy.
Dude, can we go back to that for one night? Because like I had a couple beers in me, so I was moving around dancing. I was having a damn good time. My skeleton,
we're going again next year.
My skeleton tuxedo was moving. I was moving my bones. They had the mosh pit right next to us, and I had to, again. Why is it every time I go to a concert with you, some fucker's trying to punch me even when I stand away from the mosh pit, and then I got to turn around and be that guy and be like, "Look, bro. I'm not trying to get in the way, but if you hit me, I'm gonna fuck you up." Like
the energy, man. The energy follows me. The mosh pit follows me, even though I try to stay away from it.
I went on this whole YouTube rabbit hole the other day because I just happened to see this video on Twitter of like this dude, like I don't know, 5'8", just in the middle of a mosh pit, just spinning, and all of a sudden like sees these three guys on the barricade and decide, I'm going to spin kick one dude. I'm going to punch the other two. Watch this. And, like, why these people just, like, stood there like, yeah, dude, that's cool. Fucking face hurts. But, yeah, that was awesome. Somebody does some shit like that to me, man. I don't care if I'm near a mosh pit or whatever the fuck. You do not. I'm not the one you want to be trying to hit out there. That's all I'm trying to say.
Hey, Kyle threatened to choke a dude out at Slipknot.
I've participated.
Pretty much. That dude come any closer. He comes any closer. I'm taking him down.
Hold on a minute. Let me at least defend myself, because I did not just like get pissed off and be that guy at the concert that turns over and come near me and I'm gonna fuck you up. That's not what happened.
That dude was coming at everybody trying to pick a fight with somebody.
And he's one of those guys that's running around like this, swinging at everybody. Yeah. And I'm like, look, bro, have fun, but I'm telling you, if you fucking hit me, I'm gonna fuck you up, dude.
I'm about to shoulder check your dumb ass into the fucking hill at fucking DTE. You do that shit to me.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like that girl. Remember your friend, the girl that should have got beat up in the mosh pit?
Yeah.
Dude, this girl was standing on the outside of the mosh pit, and she kept running up to everybody and like trying to shove people in who weren't trying to go in there. And then finally people started getting pissed off about it, and some dude turned around and just pushed the shit out of her, and she flew and fell flat on her ass, and then gets up and's like, why did he push me for? Well, maybe you shouldn't have been pushing people in the fucking pit who didn't want to be in the pit. How about that?
You don't want to be involved. Step back.
Like, if you don't want to be involved, then don't be involved, but don't be fucking pushing everybody else in there. Otherwise, you deserve it. And I thought it was pretty funny when she fell face first into the dirt pit. But
as somebody who has participated in my fair share as a 10-year straight participant of Warped Tour, there's levels to that shit, and you don't need to be involved with some of that dumbass mosh pit shit. Like the shoulder checks and shit like that are fun. The crowd surfing.
Not to mention the proper etiquette out there. It's like if you go down, people know, hey, we got to help this person up. It's not like they're out there just stomping. You got some assholes out there. They're just out to hurt people, man. It's stupid.
Man, it's funny you say that, which I was just talking about YouTube wormholes. Since we've had Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch on the show, which if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend that episode. It was funny because they were talking about, I saw a clip the other day on YouTube, and Ivan Moody was up on the stage, and like this dude, like, I don't know if he fell and the guy like just like kicked him or stomped him, because you couldn't see what happened in the thing, but in mid set, he stops in mid-set and points out, and he's like, you motherfucker, I saw what you did. Like, apologize to that dude.
Yeah.
And the guy's just trying to be all tough about it because he's at a 5 Finger Death Punch concert. He goes, look, either you apologize or I'm going to send all these people in white shirts back there to take your ass out. And it was like,
as it should be. As it fucking should be, man. Them
You ain't there to hurt nobody,
like,
man. You're there to have a good time, man.
Rest in peace to all those that were lost at Astro World and stuff like that. I know a lot of that's fallen on Travis Scott. I'm not even a rap follower to these days, but that doesn't belong on him. It's on security. It's on the event organizers. It's on all that. But that being said, man, what the fuck happened to common courtesy, man? Everybody's just too busy worried about running people over to try to get a fucking view at a concert, man. Those speakers are so loud, let me tell you, that it's better to be back. I've been to a million concerts. It's better to be back. You can still see. You can still hear shit just fine. There's no fucking reason to be running people over, man. That's all I got to say about that. But before we do make the transition over into the MMA world,
we already did that, but
well, kinda, not quite. We didn't talk UFC.
We're back and forth.
I was getting there next.
While we are on music, though, I wanted to bring up, because my stoner mind finally remembered today. Hey, go check out Mega Ran's new album. I finally did that. Live 95, man, that shit was a hit. I'm still fucking got Tractor Beam stuck in my head right now. So,
dude, and he just put out the new video for that shit. Check it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The video was nice, man. The video was nice. I did take a peep today. I actually listened to the whole album, didn't skip a single song, so that's usually a pretty good review right there.
I mean, I will be sure to tell Megaran that as soon as I get off the air. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that motherfucking download and check out Live 95, because as Corey said, there's some definite bangers. And for our wrestling fans, I was a big fan of Faces of Fear that was on there as well. That was a damn good song. Like I said, check out the homie Megaran. Like I said, so you got UFC again this weekend. It's going to be another early card. Probably don't need to go through the whole card because it's kind of a dead one other than the co-main and the main. But here's a
arguable.
I just was looking down at, there's a few of them, but if you're talking about fights that make me stop and say, oh, I want to watch this, it's the co-main and the main, dude.
Yeah, in that regard. And realistically, if you're Caitlin Vieira, you should be thanking the shit out of the UFC and Miesha Tate, because other than that, she should not be in a main event slot. She just lost to fucking Yana Kunitskaya by getting just grounded out for 3 rounds. So I'm very surprised we see her in a main event slot. I personally would have rather seen the Sean Brady versus Mike Chiesa fight be the main event, but
you can't have that be the main event when you got Miesha Tate in it.
But it's literally Miesha Tate against somebody who's.
But it don't matter though, because that goes into the question I was going to ask, and I posed the same question to both you and J-Bone. J-Bone, you can take it first if you want. There's been a lot of people that have been talking about it. I mean, that kind of goes back to what I was saying though. Is the 145 division in the UFC pretty much kind of just dying off? Because there's not. I mean, what are you going to do? You got Amanda Nunes, and she's beat everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, what can you do at this point, man? You got a dominant champ like that. Start looking into some crossover stuff, maybe. I don't know. There's money out there to be made, that's for sure. Maybe start going to the boxing realm with her. I don't know. It's tough.
I'll be honest
with
very tough situation.
With the lack of the division, I just think what we end up seeing is, because she's able to that's basically her off camp weight, right? So she just goes through camp and doesn't diet like she normally would to make it to 135. With that being said, I think we just end up seeing Amanda hold on to that belt for as long as she feels like she wants to. There's, like you say, there's no real competition at the moment, at least, unless they go about like signing Kayla Harrison or somebody like that. There isn't like a ton of huge competition or anything that people are even like chomping at the bit to see right now. So I think what we'll end up seeing is her defend that belt once every year and 3 months. just enough to keep the division kind of afloat and say, look, Amanda's a double champ. She's an active double champ. Yeah. She's still defending both belts. Look at how great she, it helps with the promotion without really having to do that much, I guess you can say, because they're not doing that much in the terms of like scouting new talent for 145. They're not like,
right, and that's why I'm saying is the division dying, because if you want my honest opinion, what I think is going to happen is if Miesha Tate wins inevitably, and then they end up lining, not inevitably, but if she wins, and then the next fight that they try to run after that ends up being Nunes versus Tate again, and she beats Tate, like if she beats her handily, I wouldn't be shocked if Amanda retires. That being said, I feel like the only fight that's really left that's really kind of not plausible, but has any steam on it would be Kayla Harrison. But even at that, it looks like Kayla Harrison very well might be going to Bellator to fight Chris Cyborg. So where do you guys think we're going to see?
I would love to see that match. I feel like that's a perfect test for somebody like her and her.
I just feel like my problem with her going to Bellator is this, though. If she goes to Bellator and then, fights Cyborg, even say she beats Cyborg, the problem with Bellator is that then who does she fight after that, though? That's why I feel like the only real spot for somebody like Kayla Harrison would have to be the UFC. And I only say that because if you go to Bellator, aren't you then basically leaving the same kind of situation that you have with PFL where there's really nobody for you to fight? Because if she goes in there and say they do that Cyborg fight and she beats Cyborg, who's
to say that she's signing some 8 to 10 fight deal, right? She could just be signing a 2-fight deal, hoping that she beats Cyborg. That inevitably gets her the championship clause, which, if I'm not mistaken, in Bellator,
I don't see her signing one of those kind of deals.
That being said, 4 fights in the promotion, she could say, "Yep, I won your belt, beat your best. Now I'm going to UFC, and now I'm garnering even more in my contract negotiations." So, who's to say it's not just a short-term play?
So I could see that, but J-Bone, feel free to give your thought in a second. But with that being said, I could see that, but I just find it hard to believe that she would want to sign anything short at this point, being like the struggles that she's already said with PFL. Like, I feel like wherever she's actually going to sign, I feel like she's not going to sign anywhere unless she's getting like a big money deal out of it. Like, I feel like at this point with the way PFL went, I feel like it's got to be something big or bust for her. What do you think, J-Bone?
I mean, I think she could do it either way. Like you said, why not go take a 2-fight deal over at Bellator? She's gonna kick ass over there. You know what I mean? And then that's just gonna ultimately give her the leverage to jump over to UFC and maybe even make more money. And who knows? Maybe she'll stick around there, sign a 5-fight deal there, make more money.
See, but that's what I'm saying, though. Like, that's why I don't think like the 2-fight deal thing is really.
If she's really chasing competition, I feel like Bellator would be a really good stop because she can get that competition level almost immediately because she's going to garner that Cyborg fight. If not in her first fight, definitely her second, because she is going to be the by far number 2 star in the women's division for Bellator. If she comes into the UFC, I could definitely see Dana trying to play hardball with her and being like, hey, yeah, we'll give you the title fight after 3 fights and you climb the ladder. It doesn't matter that you're a 2-time Olympic gold medal. It doesn't matter that you won PFL 4 times over or 3 times over.
I feel like she'd be more like a Chandler, though. I feel like if anything, I could also see what you're saying in that they don't give her an immediate title shot. But I also think that even if they do make her fight like a fight or 2, I kind of feel like it would be the same thing like Chandler. Like if she comes in there and beats if they don't have her fight Nunes right off the rip, if she goes in there and beats whoever it is that they put her in there with decisively, I don't think it's going to take more than 1 or 2 fights for them to put her towards the title, because that's the fight everybody already wants to see anyway.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like I say, I'm very excited for whatever move she does end up making in her career, even if it is just ending up staying with PFL, because I've even heard rumblings of that she's still in negotiations with PFL to stay there.
I don't think she's staying there.
I don't think so, but even if she does, I feel like she's done a really good job of garnering her own star power, being in PFL, being like their shining star on top of their platter. But
or maybe she just goes to AEW.
if she's chasing competition, I feel like Bellator is the right route. I really do, even more so than UFC right now, just for the simple fact that I feel like Cyborg is in the later stages of her career over somebody like Amanda Nunes. I feel like the Amanda fight's going to be there for a little bit longer. And to be honest with you, with how much disrespect that has been thrown out by Dana White about Kayla Harrison, kind of since the rumblings of her being on her way out of PFL, he's came out and said, like, she's making so much money there, she should just stay there. If she came to the UFC, Amanda Nunes would just dominate her. He's done everything he can to basically bring down the star of Kayla Harrison. So I feel like if she was to go to Bellator, win that fight with Cyborg, and do some great things over there, she would then garner that Chandler treatment. But as of right now, when Chandler's rumblings were he's coming onto the free market, it was like, okay, when that time comes, we're going to sit and talk with him. We're not hearing that from the rumblings about Kayla Harrison, so I feel like it would be a good.
I think that's because that goes to the question that I was asking when I say 145 is 145 dying. I think that's because there's not as much. I don't want to say we're going backwards, but I don't feel like there's as much spotlight put on the women's divisions right now because you have Nunes, who's pretty much dominated everybody, and they don't really have a lot of people to, fight against her. It's.
When it comes to the money stuff between Bellator and UFC, is it significantly a big difference going to Bellator rather than UFC? Considering
a lot of guys are making more money in Bellator, especially like Miles. Like a big thing that makes Bellator different is you can have sponsors and everything.
Yeah.
In the UFC, you can't. So that number one is going to generate them more money, and also Bellator seems to be paying better as far as their fight by fight, and even if it is a little bit lighter, when you are able to have the sponsors to go in with that money too, that's kind of where the enticement part is. Because also with Bellator also comes like Glory Kickboxing, that you can do that if you're into that kind of stuff. There's a lot of other opportunities with Bellator, and like I said, they seem to be paying well.
Their overall athlete revenue share is significantly higher, like significantly higher. I can't understate that enough, that it is like significant. I believe the UFC is 18% and Bellator is like 39 or 48 or something. So it's literally like a 30% difference of their, what they're spending on is. Yeah. So Bellator is really doing a good job of paying their athletes. But the thing is, they don't offer as many long-term contracts. Like, for instance, if you're fighting for the UFC, even if you're the opening, you're the curtain jerker. You're coming off a Contender Series win, and this is your first fight in the UFC. You are signed into a contract where no matter what, win, lose, or draw, as long as the promotion doesn't decide to cancel your contract, then your next 2 to 3, 4 bouts are all going to be with the UFC. Where with Bellator, a lot of their curtain jerkers and prelim fighters and stuff, they'll win. They'll look dominant. They'll get a knockout, and you'll never see them in Bellator ever again. So it's like they just play a lot of like they pay their main card fighters really well and stuff like that, but when it comes to like filling spots, they do.
Well, they get a lot of local guys everywhere they go. Like
that's what I mean. A lot of guys that they don't plan on offering them anything, no matter what their performance is, I guess.
Let's say she jumps ship. Let's say she goes to Bellator first. Is that one of those instant main event things where her and Cyborg are just going to be headlining?
Has to be. I mean, what other fight is there really to make there? Yeah. I mean, again, I hate to say it that way because I'm not trying to shit on Bellator, but I mean, let's be honest. There's Cyborg, and that's it.
So she jumps ship to Bellator.
They used to have Julia Budd. Julia Budd was really impressive, but now she's with PFL. Kind of a flip of the coin. Kayla Harrison leaves. Julia Budd joins. So
she jumps ship to Bellator. That's instant pay-per-view, instant main event status right there. Whereas she jumps to UFC, she's probably going to take on 2-3 fights till she gets a title shot, maybe. So, hey, if the money's there and the headline's there, why not?
If she can
Bellator?
go there and beat Cyborg, I mean, it obviously would give her more hype if she went to the UFC, but then it just depends on what, again, it all depends on what kind of contract that they put them under. And again, that's why, like I say, her bouncing around like that, yeah, in theory it could be good, but it also depends on, what kind of contracts are being thrown around.
Yeah. How long is it going to take for her to reach that status, especially getting back over to the UFC?
Well,
Yeah,
even in the UFC, I mean, I don't think they'd give her an immediate title shot, but I mean, I also don't think that they're going to put her at the bottom of the pile either. Because I mean, whether Dana's given her the credit she deserves or not, I think they also know, like, there's a reason why people are talking so much about her coming here.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think that they're going to put her in the main event right away, but I also don't think that they're going to put her like right at the bottom of the card either. I don't know, man. That, like I said, it's interesting. I definitely want to see how it plays out. And I didn't even remember about this fight until I was doing my shit before the fight. There's a hell of a boxing fight this weekend too. You've got Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford. That's going to be a hell of a fucking fight. I'm really interested to see that fight because that's two of the best of the lighter guys, period. And I don't know, man. That's that one's gonna be a banger, but like it just sucks because that's the one thing with boxing, since their pay-per-views are kind of like few and far between a lot. Like I feel like not as many people realize how big of a fight this is. But I say that, but then every time there's a big boxing pay-per-view, it's funny how, like, I don't even know how to explain it. No matter how little of buildup there is, boxing pay-per-views just have that ingrained audience that gets all the big fights. So I'm really looking forward to that fight. I haven't got to look much into the undercard of that fight, but it's definitely something that I might have to be looking forward to once I get home on Saturday. But I don't know. I think that that's going to be a banger. But as far as who wins that one, I don't know, man. I really like Sean Porter. But Terence Crawford's a dog too, dude.
He's undefeated, right?
That's why I say, right. That's why I'm saying this fight's such a banger. I want to say, Sean Porter, but man, Terence Crawford ain't been beat. Bud Crawford ain't been beat. So, I mean, that's going to be a banger. Bud Crawford's a bad motherfucker, dude.
Yeah, it really, in my eyes, kind of shows that boxing, it's, to your point earlier, whenever there's a big boxing pay-per-view, it seems like shortly thereafter, like the next 2-3 days, boxing's not dead all over the headlines. Boxing's not dead. Like, we all knew it wasn't dead, but they just don't do a great job of advertising because they're, like you say, this fight is a very big fight. I forgot that it's this weekend, and I'm entrenched in the combat world. So that regard kind of sucks. It honestly does. That they just don't do enough advertisement. They really don't, man. Like, you see, like the ESPN pay-per-views for UFC and stuff like that, they scroll across my Roku TV like, hey, there's a UFC pay-per-view this weekend, just so you know. Like, they do their job to try to push out, to casuals and stuff like that, where I feel like boxing is really, they do have that hardcore following, but they've done if anything, they've cocooned inward towards that. They aren't trying to garner their, spread their roots anymore. They're just more so like, we have our hardcore, so we're cool.
And that's why I say I don't think boxing will ever completely go anywhere because, I mean, like I said, whenever there's a big fight, they still do okay on pay-per-view. But this fight will definitely be a banger. I think I agree with both of you guys that Crawford is going to win. But that being said, I just think that this is going to be a dogfight unless it goes completely different from how we see it. All right, well, we're running really short on time at this point. So before we get out of here, I'll get both of your guys' thoughts on the other fight we're talking about. You got Mike Chiesa and Brady as the co-main event at UFC. I, for one, am a big Michael Chiesa fan. So for me, I'm going to go with Mike Chiesa. I think he gets the job done by submission.
Well, that's one of the things I actually had in the notes, and I guess I would wanted to pose you guys as a question. I do have a couple short notes on 2 other fights on this card as well. But with this one in particular, it is amazing me. I liked everything I've seen from Sean Brady. I really do. But the fact that Michael Chiesa was on such a run since he's made his way to 170 and has looked impressive as hell, loses one fight in a fight that he was winning against Vicente Luque because he gave up a bad position because he was trying to chase a submission too quick. Now all of a sudden he's a significant underdog to somebody in Sean Brady who's never faced that level of talent.
Give me that bet all fucking day.
Yeah.
Give
me that.
I'm just so surprised in Vegas because they usually do a really good job of, putting the odds out on these fights. Like, I mean, maybe they know something we don't, and Sean Brady is going to go out there and just outperform them. But realistically, I've liked everything I've seen from Sean Brady, but he doesn't have that one thing that is overwhelming standout where Michael Chiesa does. He's amazing on the ground. And if he's able to get Brady to the ground and keep him there, man, I feel like he's going to be able to win this fight, like, for sure.
You going with Chiesa or Brady, J-Bone?
I'm going Chiesa, man. And I'll be taking that bet on DraftKings also. I might even parlay that up somewhere. Kyle,
I'm with you, bro. I mean, knowing that he's the underdog like that, I might have to head over to DraftKings and throw sprinkle a little like Yanni the Greek says. All right, Corey, give us a quick rundown on those two other fights so we can get the fuck out of here because, we've been flapping our gums a while.
Yeah, it's been a good one. But that being said, first off, I guess we'll start with the less fan attention because Adrian Yanez has done a great job of building up his own attention, so we'll get to that one second. But Terence McKinney, for anybody who's unaware of this guy, he's only had one fight in the UFC, which was the second fastest knockout in 155 history. He got the knockout in 7 seconds over, why can't I think of his name? Steamroller Matt Frivola. Which is a killer. He's looked amazing at 155. For him to be able to get the knockout over him that quickly, amazing. Reason why I bring that up, he is on like a 7 or 8 fight win streak of all fights in the first round, most of which were under 15 seconds. This is now going to be his second, UFC sophomore expedition, I guess you could say. But I'm really excited to see if he can keep up that insane pace that he's got going on right now. So for anybody who might not be aware of that fight, that's going to be a fun one on the prelims. Him versus Zahim. I forgot the last name, but Zahim. But it's going to be an incredible fight. So watch out for that one. It's more than likely going to end incredibly quickly. It's probably going to end quicker than my breakdown just did, put it that way. Secondly, Davey Grant versus Adrian Yanez. For anybody who may not know Davey Grant, he just put on a legit fight of the night against Chito Vera in his last fight. Great fighter. He's won his last 2 before that by first round knockout. Adrian Yanez, ever since his Contender Series fight, has just been garnering fan attention like no other. For a bantamweight fighter to be able to do some of the stuff he's been able to do, his last fight with Randy Costa had the whole MMA Twitter world blowing up, like to the point where it got moved up to the main card on a fight where it was initially supposed to be like one of the first 3. So they've done a really great job of garnering their own attention, and this is a fight every MMA fan should be watching out for. Like, Adrian Yanez is a serious contender at 135, in my opinion. And this is his first step on the real ladder. I like Costa a ton. Randy Costa's a dog, but he hasn't been proven yet. Davey Grant has. He's went in there against a lot of great people. May not have always came out, but always put on incredibly competitive fights. This is going to be a real test.
I don't know, man. There's a lot to look forward to. BCWA Frontline. J-Bone, you're going to be in the building, right?
That's right. I'll be there, man. I'll probably be watching the fights down here like this, trying to watch the fights while I'm watching BCW. Corey, I'm gonna need you to tweet out your picks, man. I need to put in a parlay on that.
There you go. There you go. Maybe I'll.
Well, you
start-
can always just go ahead and
a
watch it
weekly
back
run.
on YouTube. Just make sure you hit that subscribe button. It'll be out on all the podcast boys. Any of y'all that are listening that got in here late and want to hear our picks, whether it be Survivor Series, UFC, any of that stuff, make sure you go back and check that out. If you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Yeah, hopefully BCWA ends up being another banger like it usually is. I don't know, man. I'm really looking forward to next week. Tuesday is going to be pretty badass.
Tuesday.
Hopefully I don't end up losing teeth like McCarty, but it's all right. And then Thursday, I'm going to have the whole family, including my little dude over here, for Thanksgiving. So I'm not too mad about it, bro. I'm ready to get it cracking this week. So like I said, a lot to talk about. I feel like we got everything out of the way. You're going to have Rampage on Friday. And before I go, let me just send a big shout out to our buddy, our friend, past guest of the show, Dave LaGreca, as he is enlisted to help Elaney Luck to try to take down Thunder Rosa again. Dave, I think you might have a death wish, my dude. Like, I mean, I don't see any way that this goes any different for you. I mean, hey, shout out to you for getting somebody in your corner like Laney Luck, but I don't know, man. I hope, Dave, you can figure this out, because have you gentlemen been made privy to what the wager on this match is?
Doesn't he got to get like a tattoo on his ass of?
He's got to get Thunder Rosa's face tattooed on his ass. And
Good
if
luck,
Laney Luck
dude.
Laney Luck
luck.
wins, Thunder Rosa's got to get a LaGreca head somewhere on her body. So if you guys didn't get to see our chat with Dave LaGreca from Busted Open, I'll have some clips out when he was trying to tell us that he had to plan the last time. I hope this time his plan has been made foolproof. But you know what isn't foolproof? It's the next day. So let's make it a Tuesday. Like I said, if you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like button, comment button, all the motherfucking buttons. Hit them and share it to somebody. And make sure you're here on Tuesday. I want to know, what do you guys want to hear us talk about with Detroit Red Wings legend Darren McCarty? I want to know. Tweet them to me at KO3C Pod. You can tweet me personally at Detroit Knockout. You can hit up J-Bone, and you got to make sure you stay tuned, because, hell, we might be coming to Chicago. Chicago, we coming back, Chicago. I might have to go see El Rudo de las Chicas, but until then and in between time. Peace.
I just want to leave the fans with one interesting tad note. How the fuck does Sean Woodson make fucking 135 being 6'2"? I just want to know. It makes no fucking sense in the world.
The same way that big, tall beanstalk motherfucker that I fought weighed 145 pounds, and he was 6'2".
Yeah,
That's
but
how.
we're talking a fucking 28-year-old man at this point. Like, you know, that's a whole different ball game. I just want to
alien.
Anybody, if you guys can explain that to me, leave it in the comments below, because I just don't fucking understand it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in the fight game I don't understand, but what I do understand is that Tuesday is going to kick ass. Hey, Hockey Town, make sure you send me some questions and try Darren McCarty's CBD. Until next time, and in the in-between time, catch us with D-Mac. Peace.
Peace.